Hey everybody, welcome to the HTBox AllReady Community Stand-Up. We are joined today with a room full of special guests, so it's a super awesome treat to have them online. We're going to get to them in just a second. We are going to start though with going to talk to Tony, who just got back from actually a couple weeks ago now. Was at that conference up in Wisconsin Dells, and we mentioned it last week on the stand-up, but Tony, I know you're finalizing the last of the cleanup from the pull requests and the outpouring of support we got from that, and I'll throw that over to you for that and upcoming events.
Yep, thanks, James. We had that conference, which, if I remember correctly, was August 6th through the 8th, and we did a two-day pre-give camp, if you will, focused entirely on humanitarian toolbox projects, including AllReady. We had about 20 people, maybe 15 to 20 people. It varied from time to time, both days, and they really dug in and worked hard. This is usually sort of our biggest conference codathon, and it was again this year. We had 15 to 20 people for 2 days. We also had folks who were on the QA side of things who had different skill sets. So in addition to the normal flow of getting everybody up on the project in Git and showing how they can contribute to the project, start with the jump in and then move to harder and harder issues, we had somebody there from Twilio who helped us work through how we're going to start doing some of the more advanced messaging and other aspects. We got a lot of that implemented. We had a couple of folks who focused in on Google Maps integration so that we can show the all of the requests and where they get placed. And then the scenario I love was we had somebody in there who was QA who was going through the system logging bugs. We had somebody who was triaging, that was me, and then somebody who was in the room, actually several people who jumped in and fixed bugs. So we had the whole software development lifecycle, if you will, going live inside of there. So we had, I don't know, at least a dozen pull requests within the first hour of each day.
I saw those flying by. That was awesome.
Yep, so really successful, and a number of those folks have continued to contribute, and we're lucky to have things very well set up for today's event here in Arizona. And then also coming up, and I'm going to get the date of this wrong, but I believe it's in mid-October, is the Grace Hopper Conference. It's a technology and women in technology focused conference, and they have an open source day. And so we're one of a handful of projects that will be working with both volunteers from that conference as well as others who are going to be there at Grace Hopper to, in most cases, maybe work on an open source project for the first time, but in a lot of cases also they've either worked with us in past years or other open source. It gives us an opportunity to pull people together and get them a chance to contribute to this project.
Excellent. We do have a, as I said, we've got some guests on now. I just wanted to look really closely here. The Grace Hopper dates are October 18th to, looks like the 20th is a packed day. There's all kinds of tracks here, 21st. So 18th to the 22nd, I want to say. Does that sound about right?
Sounds about right, yep.
Yeah, okay, and then there's the open source day in there somewhere too. Okay, wonderful. Okay, these events that we do, the work that happens on those days is important, but what is really cool is when we get someone on board who is able to pick up the torch and carry it outside and kind of start spreading the fire around, and not just the day of, but in perpetuity afterwards. And so look at someone like Rob here, who's been instrumental in getting things running here, and I know you've been working with your compatriots there at in terms of getting AZ Camp set up. Rob, I'd just like you to introduce the room briefly and let us know what kinds of things you guys are going to be working on today on AllReady.
Excellent.
Sure. We're running an event today. AZ Give Camp is hosting the Humanitarian Toolbox Hackathon. It's a breezy 100 degrees. It will be by today, 37 degrees Celsius. So, a nice cool one for us. It's not.
It was. I was camping this week. It was 37 degrees Fahrenheit. So.
Yes, we're going to be focusing on trying to eliminate some of the lava flows, reducing the technology count. We're going after the AllReady data context. We're going to see if we can eliminate that. We're going to see if we can eliminate knockout. We're going to try and get the mobile app going. We've got a Google Doc of kind of our favorite issues. Thank you for merging everything last night. That makes it a whole lot clearer what we need to do going forward. So we're looking pretty good. We'll probably spend the first hour or two getting everyone's Git set up, Visual Studio, all of the things installed, and then we'll start pouring in requests. I'm really excited.
Excellent. Okay, so we will be periodically available. I will, Tony, I'm not sure what your availability is today, but as needed, if there's things that need to be merged in any particular order, that just kind of, not because they have to be, but because it's a little bit easier, then just reach out to us and let us know, and we are happy to support anything that we can here. So as far as background on the project and familiarity with things, is there anything that we can help you with right now while we've got the audience of the room?
We walked through your slide deck previously, so we're generally familiar with kind of the mission of Humanitarian Toolbox. But you might want to dig into more of, kind of where we're going with AllReady and kind of our goals and timelines there.
Sure, absolutely. I can hit on that. First of all, thank you all for, I realize it's probably super exciting to not be outside in 100-degree weather, but nonetheless, thank you all for taking the time to contribute and volunteer for the project. Said you're familiar with Humanitarian Toolbox. So specifically what we're doing with AllReady is taking that, how do we do open source development and do it for disaster response and humanitarian work, and think not just about what happens after a disaster, but think about what happens before a disaster. How can we get people so they're in a situation where they're prepared and they're resilient and they're not going to be as greatly affected from everything from small-scale disasters, a flood in your basement, to a house fire, to large-scale disasters that impact neighborhoods, cities, and states. And so AllReady is about how do we ingratiate volunteers? How do we make the process for finding out what preparedness campaigns are out there, what work they can do, how they can sign up, and then what the impact of that is. So you can think of it as volunteering and signing up, being able to demonstrate the impact that they will have, demonstrate the impact that has already happened from the preparedness campaign, and then aggregate that across many campaigns. So ultimately what you can see is how is a neighborhood or a group or a zip code or whatever it is overall becoming more prepared and more resilient. We know that in software development it's good to have a first customer. You don't want to build stuff without a customer, so we're focused on one scenario, but we're making sure we build in cases for others. And that scenario is a smoke detector install campaign that's being run by the American Red Cross. That's sort of our first scenario, first customer. And really, the idea is that if you can get smoke detectors installed, people can know about a fire before it happens, get themselves out. That makes themselves safer and more resilient. It means less first responders need to run in burning buildings, which means less impact to them, and their ability to go help others who really need the help in disasters that could otherwise be, avoided. And so ultimately, all together, we know that the code we're writing here makes people more prepared, makes first responders sort of less needed in disasters, and ultimately has a huge impact when it does come to actual disaster response. Just in the greater Chicago sort of north central area, they respond to, I think it's something like 2,000 small-scale disasters a year. And they have goals of installing hundreds, if not thousands, of smoke detectors. And so we're focused on that use case. And the last thing I'll say is, if you've ever had cable installed or anything like that, you know that coordinating a physical installation in a house and timing and all those issues is very difficult, but at least there you've got internet or ESPN coming at the end. This is a smoke detector. It's not exactly super exciting. So we know that the better we can make this, then it'll be more appointments actually land, more installs actually occur, and then both the homeowner or the apartment, individual living in the apartment will have a better experience and be more welcoming of this, and thus everybody will be better prepared. So you're going to see issues, and you're going to see sort of really the flow of the app around how do we advertise where we need these requests, how do we match it up to volunteers, and then how do we execute that. And the work you're going to do today around moving and removing some of the code, driving testing and some other aspects, that's absolutely key in making sure this application is as performant and sort of easy to use as possible. So thank you.
Sure. Thank you for having us.
Excellent. Well, we wish you guys all a wonderful day filled with K-locks of code and passing unit tests and all of those things. Reach out if you need any help, and if anybody's looking for more information on getting involved in the project, please check out the links in the video afterwards. It's automatically published with the onto YouTube there, so check that out. And thanks everyone for joining us today.
Thank you.